After making my video a few days ago in which I argued that the Muslim God is less than the Christian God because the Muslim God can't humble himself, Muslim after Muslim has hopped into the comments to say something along the lines of Allah would never humble himself, he would never enter into his creation as a weak man, why would Allah do such a thing, this is not befitting his majesty, and so on. My Muslim friends, if you truly think it could never be the case that Allah would enter into his creation or that he would ever humble himself or be weak, you need to find a new religion because you are blatantly contradicting the Quran. In Surah 3 verses 3 through 4, Allah explicitly says he imparted the Torah, and he says that anybody who rejects his revelations will be punished. This surah tells us that whatever the Torah says about Allah, Allah approves the message as it was sent by him. It also tells us that if we reject his revelation, then we will be punished. With that in mind, let's look at a section from the Torah, Genesis 32, 24 through 32 to be precise. And Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. When the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he touched his hip socket, and Jacob's hip was put out of joint as he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for the day has broken." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." And he said to him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." Then he said, "Your name will no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with men and have prevailed." Then Jacob asked him, "Please tell me your name." But he said, "Why is it that you ask my name?" And there he blessed him. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, saying, "For I have seen God face to face, and yet my life has been delivered." I want to make it clear that there's no way you can deny Jacob was wrestling with God here. Jacob is renamed to Israel after this event, and Israel literally means wrestled with God or contended with God. The man specifically says Jacob has contended with God and prevailed. And then Jacob says, "I have seen God today and lived." To summarize, in this story, Allah comes to earth as a human, and he spends all night rolling around in the dirt wrestling with a dirty sheep herder named Jacob. That sheep herder beats Allah in the wrestling match and says he won't let Allah go unless he agrees to bless him. Here's my point. How are you Muslims going to tell me that Allah would never humble himself and come to earth as a man when we have a verse in the scripture that your God apparently inspired in which Allah specifically comes to earth as a man and fights and loses? Do you guys not see the issue here? You can say that Allah straight up could not beat Jacob in a wrestling match, which I don't think you want to do, or you can say that Allah let Jacob win. But if you say that Allah let Jacob win, you're saying he did the very thing that you guys have been spamming my videos saying that he would never do because it does not befit his majesty. Allah coming to earth as a man and letting himself be beaten by Jacob is just as much an act of humility as Allah coming to earth as a man and letting himself be killed. Now I can hear your objections already. Oh, the Torah was corrupted, this section isn't from Allah. Okay, if that's the case, you still need a new religion because you admitted the Quran is wrong. Surah 6, 115 says that Allah's words can't be changed or corrupted. So what's it going to be, boys? Are you going to admit you are wrong about saying Allah would never humble himself, or are you going to call Allah a liar?